Hakuin's Is That So? From Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. Here's the story. The Zen master Hakuin was praised by his neighbors as one living a pure life. A beautiful Japanese girl whose parents owned a food store lived near him. Suddenly, without any warning, her parents discovered she was with child, and this made her parents very angry. She would not confess who the man was, but after much harassment, at last named the priest Hakuin. In great anger, the parents went to the master. Is that so? Was all he would say. After the child was born, it was brought to Hakuin, and by that time he has lost his reputation, which did not trouble him. He accepted the child and took very good care of the child. He obtained food from his neighbors and everything else the little one needed. A year later, the girl mother could stand it no longer. She told her parents the truth, that the real father of the child was a young man who worked in the fish market. The mother and father of the girl at once went to Hakuin to ask his forgiveness, to apologize at length, and to get the child back again. Hakuin was willing. In yielding the child, all he said was, "Is that so?" This is a very famous story about Hakuin, the 17th century Zen master. And when people look at the surface of it, they hear that, "Is that so?" Somebody comes to us and accuses us of something, "Is that so?" Somebody gives us something that they don't want anymore and we accept it with, "Is that so?" That it implies a bit of indifference, nihilism to circumstances. Is that so? I think that's a very superficial way of looking at this story. So first off, there is a mystery involved. Hakuin recognizes that his karma is his karma. And everything that comes to him and everything that comes to all of us is our karma, which we have to meet. There's no choice. So somebody accuses us of something, and we do our very best to skillfully meet that accusation. It is rarely helpful to get into an argument of he said, she said, he said, she said, you said, I said. So what do we do? Secondly, once we have met our particular karma, it's important that we attend to it, that we take care of it, that we are engaged with it. So in this case, Hakuin found himself with a baby on his hands, and he fed it, he took care of it, he did whatever 17th century Japanese parents would do. Of course, he must have had some affection for the child. It wasn't just a neutral lump that he was taking care of. It was a warm, loving baby. So you would expect that not only did something aversive come and he accepted it, but now something loving is going to be taken away from him. And he accepts that too. So the principle for all of us is things come that we don't want, that we have to meet skillfully. Things go that we do love, we have to meet that skillfully too. Sometimes it's okay to say, "Is that so?" But most of the time, my experience, people apply that as a way of escaping their own responsibility and their own reactions. As a way of nihilism, things don't matter. So when something comes that we find aversive, how do we meet it? How do we meet it and turn it so that we are no longer fighting our lives? When something that we love and cherish is with us and suddenly it disappears, how do we meet that too? How do we allow that to change? So there is the principle of equanimity. There is the principle of loving kindness. There is the principle of compassion. And there is the principle of sympathetic joy. How happy must the mother have been to get her child back? All of those are implied with a great master such as Hakuin's response. Unfortunately, we often take that as the "is that so" as a stamp of this is a particular phrase, attitude, without understanding what's underneath that particular response in that particular time and this particular story. After all, it's a story. So, no matter what comes to each of us, may we accept it and respond to it fully. No matter what is taken from each of us, may we acknowledge that and let it go with loving kindness.